Welcome, this is Andrew Charnetsky, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about modules within pureLIGHT. A module is effectively a separate little scene. Theoretically, you could bake every module just as a completely separate project, but sometimes it's convenient to be able to put these separate sort of sub-scenes within one project. A simple example might be to bake alternate setups of lighting. So in our den scene here, we have one module for this night version, and then under modules I have common, which right now is blank, to do our time of day, and then within time of day I have night, dusk, and day. And you can see how we have completely different lighting for each. In this particular case, every mesh is duplicated in each different module. So effectively, we have three different projects, three different sets of objects, three different sets of lighting. If we take a look inside the project itself, we have module common, which right now is empty, and then we have three of these module folders. So the naming of a module folder allows pureLIGHT to do its magic. So we have module, identifies that folder as containing module information, underscore group, so this is the group identifying modules, I'll talk about that shortly, and then the particular module name. So within each of these, I have a series of meshes, I have their lighting, I have their exported lighting that you could import into the application of your choice, settings, etc. So there's three completely different scenes effectively. And because they all share the same module group, I can switch out of them directly at that group level. So a better example of more complicated modules, because this is great to set up alternate sets of lighting, but perhaps you want something a little bit more powerful. In that case, I take you to a project from our architectural visualization library. So here you can see we've got some nice natural pureLIGHT lighting in this interesting curved staircase. If I switch from that staircase, from the curved and U-shaped to the straight and island version, we have two completely different sets of meshes. Now, these meshes don't change. The walls, the couch, the plants, all that, all stay the same. But the staircase, the wall, the island, and the pieces that actually change with the lighting and affect the different lighting are completely different. So I'll show you that again. So we go modules. So you can see we actually removed a light, and the same lights, these lights stay. They share the same power. You can see the effect on this wall. But basically the change is enough that anything with a different mesh or different lighting is swapped out. Stepping back from this extreme case, I'm going to show you exactly how modules work in pureLIGHT. So I have this little example scene. This one is basically set up in a root. It's think of this as the base piece. This one's in a separate module. Now this module here is at the same level as this root, hence the lighting is exactly the same. This piece here contains all the bounce light information that's happening on this side. If I were to change modules, so you can see under demo module we have multiple different options for that group. If I went to, say, curved, you can see we've changed this mesh, and that affected the lighting in this area, but by the time we reach the separation, the bounce light's effectively the same. There's no visible seam. If we jump to something that, say, absorbed a little bit of light bouncing around inside these complex forms, you can see that the kind of average lighting by the time we get to the seam is a little bit darker, and therefore the modules don't quite line up perfectly. Now theoretically you could have had that module transition way out here, perhaps included this whole shape, but ultimately if you had a texture on there you probably wouldn't notice, in which case it's pretty much an artistic decision. Regardless, this shows you here how this piece is still receiving lighting from that first straight version. This piece receives lighting from the root and factors in lighting as if it were to have bounced around in this space. But ultimately there can be a slight difference. Underscoring that example a little more, if I had blue lights, here we've added blue lights to a submodule, and this particular lighting on the floor does factor in this blue lighting bouncing around down here, but it's not shown on the original root level. So taking a look at how this would be laid out, it's all about the folder structure. So within module example here, which is just a series of folders, I have two module groups. I have exterior and I have kitchen. And so this basically shows up in the menu. I have common, then I have module demo or demo module, then I could have something else, etc. Basically I can choose to show one module group at a time. So the module groups are fairly important. So we have module exterior, and within exterior I have options A, options B, option C. And within the kitchen I have an option A and an option B. You'll notice the ampersand here, and this defines what we call a lighting master. So if we didn't have this ampersand, these modules would be completely independent of each other. You could have whatever lighting you want, none of them would affect module common. They'd basically be completely isolated little scene projects. Because we have this ampersand though, that ampersand denotes this module here. This is the light master, and what that means is that lighting within the light master will actually propagate back up into the parent. So in this case, the parent is module common. So any lighting, let's say we had a bright blue neon light on our house in option A, that would carry to module common. If we had a bright red light in option B, it would only affect option B. It would not propagate to any of the others. Similar, if we had something in option C, it would stay within option C. Now the key thing is, modules are invisible to other modules of the same group. So option A sees nothing of B and C. Likewise, B and C, or B sees nothing of C and A. Exactly. If you want to think about it in a more visual way, consider this kitchen. Anything to do with the curved staircase and kitchen doesn't affect the straight one, and anything to do with the straight island version doesn't affect the curved one. And in this case, the curved one actually propagates back and bounces light into the parent, into common. Similarly, the kitchen options in this example, they have nothing to do with the exterior because they're disconnected, with the exception that the lighting master propagates back up to the common and therefore would affect everything else. So for example, if we had a bright neon light in kitchen option A, that would affect all the exteriors, module common, etc. Now one thing that's interesting with the module system is you can have nested modules. Now this is very convenient if you're doing a configurable house, perhaps less so in a game context. But let's say we open up option A. Within option A, we have a separate level of modules for option A and B. We could take a look inside our kitchen here, and that in this case would be kitchen stairs, islands, straight and stairs. So this is a module group. Then we have a whole new set of groups. So in this case, it would be, say, faucet style, and then we have 3 more sub-modules. The mesh changes. That mesh has its own lighting. Same thing like sink style. And so in this case, the sink changes, the countertop changes, it has its own lighting, but this all receives lighting from its parent, which would be the straight stairs, and straight stairs receives lighting from the common root of all this. Same idea if we went to the U-shaped kitchen. This receives lighting from common. Because this is the module master, it casts lighting back into common. And then within this particular branch, then we have our own again, like faucet styles, kitchen styles, etc. So this is about as advanced as you can possibly get regarding modules. But what's interesting from a gaming perspective is you can do some really powerful things in terms of just having complete alternate lighting setups. You could also, say, use modules to break apart different areas. You could have 2 separate sections, and you could prevent light from being shared between them by using modules. You could also show different experimental options, or a good example would be I had a case where I needed to light the interior of an airplane on fire. I had 3 different modules with 3 different sets of lighting. Then I took the sum of those light maps, blended them together using a shader, had some fantastic flickering, nice and direct lighting. I hope you found this tutorial valuable. Again, this is a bit of an extreme case, but modules offer a fairly creative solution to a lot of the common lighting problems I've encountered. I know this is a bit much to wrap your head around, but if you need any more information or a more detailed example, please feel free to check the documentation. It's all explained in great detail therein. Thank you very much.